Hello, everybody. A warm welcome to another interview on Wisdom from North. I'm Jannike, and if you're new to my channel, as always, welcome here. I'd love for you to subscribe, and you do that below. Today, you're going to meet the amazing teacher, Tammy De Mirza, and she's internationally known as the Breakthrough Alchemist. She's the author of The Inmate and the Medium and a series of books called Relationship Breakthrough Principles, where she teaches people how to move from an disempowered state to an empowered one with clarity. Now, at the age of 11, Tammy started to communicate with the non-physical reality, and she uses this ability in her work with her clients. We're also very honored to have her as one of our masterclass teachers in Wisdom from North membership. And if you are looking for a spiritual community with like-minded people from all over the world and want access to masterclasses with teachers that I have handpicked for you, then come and join us in the membership. You can read all about it in the link below. Now let's meet Tammy and learn from her perspectives.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you.
Wonderful to have you back, Tammy. And you just made another beautiful masterclass for our membership. It's called For the Love of Self, where you're moving into self-love and sort of what the resistance we have towards it and how we can strengthen that. And I know these days that you're very passionate about speaking about relationships and teaching people more about how to empower themselves, have more clarity. And in the membership, we had a Q&A and we talked about this codependency that a lot of spiritual people or empaths and sensitives can have, because you said that older souls usually have a more difficult or challenging curriculum. So they sort of put themselves in these relationships to learn from them. So I would love for you to speak a little bit about first what a curriculum is, and this pattern of older souls attracting these complicated relationships.
That's a lot to talk about. I'll be glad to share. Older souls I define as people who are more aware in life. You're typically the only one in your family, which makes it really hard and makes it feel like you're very alone. You may hear the terms, you're the alien or you're the adopted one. That's what I was called. You're different. We don't know why. Why do you talk like this? Why do you share these things? Why do you do this? So we learn to be quiet. We learn to not share. We learn to go inside, and we're in pain because we're more aware. So people that are more aware have a sense that lends itself to what you asked about before, the curriculum. So the people that come into this world, every single being is here really to accomplish what I call a soul purpose, a mission in life, or your curriculum is a way to break it down. You came in and agreed that you would have a certain personality, certain hair, certain fingernails, certain skin, certain body type, certain parents. You pre-agreed to all of these things, whether you know it or not. Even whether or not you have a sense of humor and whether or not you need that to get through your curriculum. So the curriculum is that you come in with a certain theme or patterning that you came here to clear. You may have decided, well, because I murdered people in the past lifetime, I want to know what it feels like to be in that kind of pain. So you may lose a loved one. That may be part of your curriculum. I'm not saying that is the case, but I'm just saying if you want to break it down, there's a reason that you chose to be right where you are. When you're fighting that, when you don't like what is happening in your life and you're not seeing it as a way to get through something, as purposeful, as meaningful, as intentional, which it is, then you are oblivious to the curriculum and you'll struggle and you'll just be feeling like you're surviving. Or in my case, I felt like I was being pushed underwater, and as soon as I would come up for air, I was pushed back down again. It's painful to live that way. When you're dealing with older souls, there are commonalities that I've figured out that every single older soul has. And one of them is codependency. And I can explain why that happens. So when you're the most aware one in the room or in the home, because you're typically by yourself, you're the only one that knows what you know when the family members are lying, you know when there's bullshit going on, you know when they're not being honest, they're being truthful, they're hiding things, they're not really being forthright, then you will have a tendency to want to rescue because you're aware of it. Like I used to be able to, as an empath, feel you crying before I ever saw you crying. And I'd be feeling the pain and know what the pain was about, knowing this about the person. And I'd just be sitting there looking at him like, why are you acting like you're okay? You're crying. And then within 5 to 10 minutes, they'd be crying and telling me what it was. So when you have that kind of sensitivities and that awareness, Shaneki, then you automatically want to serve, because I'm looking at other people as you looking at other people as an older soul, more aware, more sensitive. You're looking at them knowing that there's something off. And when they don't seem to know it, you will want to jump in to help them, to be of service. It's painful to be the only one in the room that sees it. So you try to connect with people in a way that would make you feel like you belong in this realm, because everybody treats you differently. And a lot of people don't want to hear what you have to say because they don't know what to do with it. We have a hard time communicating. And so most of us that are older souls develop issues around the throat chakra, and we won't speak our truth, which is another commonality. What I'm doing right now is explaining why this occurs. It occurs because it makes sense. So when you are the one that is aware that there's something going on, and you know inside of you, you know your inner guidance system is saying, I came here to do something big. I came here to be of service. And you feel that pressure, your knee-jerk response is, I'll help you because I'm aware of something you're not aware of. And so my job is to help you. So then we stop looking at ourselves and what our needs are, and we are caught up in, it's about you, it's about you. And then the world teaches us that. Even spiritual teachers and well-meaning people in the churches and spiritual circles will teach you that the only reason you have your abilities and your sensitivities and your what they call gifts, which I don't call gifts because you actually earn them. If you use them for somebody else, if somebody else gets better, if somebody else is happier, if somebody else overcomes something, then you feel good about yourself. That is actually what I call a spiritual codependency, where I am dependent on whether or not I feel good about myself based on my acts of service to you. You see what I'm saying? So when you are caught up in that, it is a natural tendency to get very deeply seated in what the world knows as codependency. Because I'm in the know and you're not, I'm obligated, I owe you, I should do this, this is what I came here to do. But what I started seeing in my 20s, and I was getting very upset over it, is that my abilities were developing to the point that when somebody would walk in my house, my front door was like a revolving door. People would find me. People just knew from other states that just pop up at my door, and I would know this woman's coming from North Carolina or whatever. And then when they would walk in, I would go, okay, how can I serve? How can I serve? But what I wasn't paying attention to was that I was neglecting my own children, my own needs, whether or not I slept. Because if somebody called me, I felt obligated to be on the phone with them. That is codependency. And what I saw was that I was becoming more of a stop sign instead of an arrow pointing people to their own growth. So when the ability all of a sudden showed up one day where somebody came in and I'm literally scanning their body and going, you've been diagnosed with cancer in your left lung, you've been given 6 weeks to live. And the man starts crying and saying, yes, I do. What we know now, that scientific facts are that when a doctor tells someone that they are going to die within 2 weeks, 6 months, 18 months, 3 years, do you know what the percentage is of people who actually die on that day? 80%.
Wow.
80% of people who are told that they are going to die on a, you got 6 weeks to live, you got 2 weeks to live, will die on that day. And so I knew at that point, even though I'm in my 20s, that when I'm telling him, you've been given 6 weeks to live, I knew that that belief system that he took on had to be removed. And I said, I believe that you can be healed. I believe that's why you came to me. If I lay hands on you, you'll be healed. And he was. So were a lot of other ailments. So were all kinds of other physical, lesions. And all of a sudden I'd see something in somebody's right abdomen and say, what's the test you have at 10:30 at the hospital tomorrow? It's not in the doctor's office, it's at the hospital. And they're going, what? How would you know that? I said, go, but after I lay my hands on you, the mass is going to disappear, but you need that confirmation. So what I was doing, even though it would seem it was beautiful and that I'm laying hands on people, and I do that energetically, my hands are hot right now just talking about it, I can do it across nations, countries, states, all this stuff. What I realized was that I was codependent because some of the people, like the man who got cured immediately of the lung cancer, and the doctor's going, what happened? And he wouldn't tell them about me, and I didn't care. I didn't really want to be known. I'm trying to hide some, like, I know these things are happening, but I really don't know what to do with it. I started realizing that I was very immature because 9 months later, this same man gets another illness. It's not cancer, it's not terminal, but it's something he's been diagnosed with that he will carry the rest of his life. Now, a lot of people, just like in the biblical times, were being completely healed, and some were coming back later with another illness. So I'm communicating and going, okay, God, why was this man healed? Because you believed. And we did this. And I'm like, well, I don't understand how we did it, but okay, why did he get this illness? Because you never dealt with the root. You never dealt with what caused the illness. And that's what's going on in the medical field. We're treating symptoms, but we're not really treating the psychological and the emotional. So codependence can be, I jump in to help you because I see what's going on in your life. But if the person is not asking you for the help, they're not ready. Even if you do it for a living and they're not ready, then it is disrespectful of their journey for you to step in, even though you have that ability.
So what I'm also curious about then is that when we come to that point where we start to become more aware of what am I doing here in this relationship? I'm trying to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped, or it's not possible to change him. It's not possible to change her. And it is not possible to change other people. We can only change ourselves. Sometimes people stay longer in those relationships than others. Is that sort of that the ego takes over and the control mechanism takes over, that we're just not letting go because it's so deep inside of us that we need to fix this other person or the situation, that we're not able to come to that surrender or that acceptance of, yes, hey, I'm not supposed to heal this person?
Well, I'm going to go back to the curriculum question because this is a really good question that you asked that relates to that. When you get in a certain curriculum and you overcome it, you no longer need the symptom of that anymore, and the universe won't bring that to you. Might bring it one more time just to test you to say, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that again. I got that. I got that. It's like a test for you to see that you've overcome it. What happens is in relationships is that we want to succeed. We have this idea that if I can make it work, if I can change it, which is controlling it, if I can change it, then I will have succeeded. I won't feel guilt, blame, or shame. So we want the things to work, but in the spirit world, then the non-physical, they're going, it's already worked, it's perfect, there's nothing missing, let it go. You're on to the next curriculum. And we're not aware of that because our thinking is kind of like a tunnel vision. No, I don't want to feel guilty. I want to make this work. I want to rescue this person. I want to help this person. But we're very confused as to what that really looks like from a maturation and higher wisdom level, where we are really in a scenario for ourselves to grow. And once that is completed, it's almost like the maestro or the choir director that does this. And the universe goes, you're over here. Why are you staying stuck here? You're over here. You're already over here. Move over here. And us in our limited mind is, but I got to fix it, which is control. There's not an ease with us typically understanding that there's such a higher wisdom involved in every single thing. And when we are looking at it from a very limited perspective, we're missing most of the benefit.
It seems like spirit is expecting a lot from us human beings, because it seems like the hardest thing is not to get closure and just to let go. Letting go seems like the most difficult thing to do, because where do you actually let go? Is it a decision? Is it by willpower? And how do you surrender? Surrendering to me is a concept I don't completely understand. Is then the challenge in a way to move up to a higher consciousness where it's possible to let go? I guess what I'm saying is that if you are here on a conscious level and spirit expects you to let go, it's not possible, because you need to raise your awareness to be able to do that.
Well, there's the spiritual side of you that I call the Holy Trinity: spirit, mind, the way you think, your emotional realm, and then the physical realm. So when those three things are in alignment, everything is easy. The problem is that we get out of alignment. So the way we're thinking about something moves the emotional and the psychological out of alignment with spirit. So then the physical goes, well, I don't know what else to do other than I'm just going to move over here. So you feel that separation, you feel that division, you feel that I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable. I'm not at ease. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. It's fascinating to me that this morning, the session that I had with a client was about, she left her husband, but psychologically and emotionally, she had not done the healing work to get herself free. So the same pattern that she had in the marriage followed her, even though she's in a separate residence. So what I'm saying is that there is a wisdom in seeing for yourself, this isn't working. If you can even stop yourself to say, am I happy? Is this fulfilling me? Am I feeling stress, pain, angst, worry? Am I losing weight? Listen, when I went through a divorce, I lost half of my hair. We are getting physical signs that we're not facing things. And so the physicality is obligated to show you, this isn't working, this isn't it, this isn't working, this isn't working. If we're denying that because we're trying so hard and we're in our own devices and we really haven't done the healing, then we're going to make more and more and more mistakes because the curriculum stays the same. So when you don't stop and say, am I sleeping well? Is my mind at peace? Can I get into a place of peace with what is right now, understanding this isn't working. I need to make decisions. Most of the time, the ego and what you call vanity or, arrogance or whatever is trying to keep you from making a decision. So there's like this fight going on of this isn't working. I don't know what decision to make. And not having that clarity means that you will automatically bring in, and I told her today, I said, the problem is that when you left, you took you with you. And if you would have been working with me or somebody else like me, we would have prepared you emotionally and psychologically and gotten you free so that when you did leave, there was a real severing. So the problem is that when we really haven't done our healing, when we don't really have that clarity, when we don't understand why we're in the position to start with, we're trying to figure it out. But if you break it down and just make it simple and you say, does this resonate? Am I happy? How long has this been going on with me? Those are the signs that it's time for a change. We avoid those. Well, I'll do this. I'll do this. I'll put on better lingerie so that he wants me. I'll bake him a cake. I'll do this dinner. I'll invite these friends. I'll try to change my conversation. When it's not working, it's not working. You're not facing the curriculum. So break it down to something simple of, am I happy? Am I sleeping well? How do I feel about this? Am I in pain? What's the percentage? And this is sometimes what I do when I'm with somebody and they're having an affair. I don't have a problem that they're having an affair. I don't judge them. But I give them the clarity to say, at what point, why did you get in this affair? What need was this other person meeting for you? And now what's the percentage of that need being met versus your pain? When your pain is greater than 50% in a relationship, there's your sign. And then people will leave those relationships because they realize, oh my God, you're right. I was with him because he was meeting my emotional needs. He would talk to me. My husband wouldn't talk to me. And now that I told him I'd be willing to leave my husband for him, he broke it off and there's no emotions. They're just a sex. And I'm like, then you're not honoring why you even began that relationship to start with. So what percentage of pain? She said 90%. She broke up with him minutes later. As soon as I left her, she broke up with him. But see, what we're not doing is making it simple for ourselves and saying, how do I feel about this? Because your inner guidance system is your feelings. So when you're uncomfortable, when you're stressed, when you're not feeling good, when you're hurting over what somebody else, and I'm pointing intentionally, he, she, they, if they did this, if they changed, if they would tell me this, I would be better. You're in a disempowered state because it's not their job to make you feel better. So if you're not tapping in and saying, how do I feel? Is it in alignment? If it's in alignment, it's good. If it's in alignment, there's fluctuations, but the fluctuations aren't so dramatic. You understand what I'm saying? When you're fighting something, the fluctuations of going up and down are like jagged lines. Whereas we're really supposed to be more in the flow of this until it just gets less to where nothing really bothers you because you've been doing your curriculum. So when our focus is on he or she is the problem, you are denying the fact that you have intentionally agreed to be in this scenario on purpose to learn something. Use these people. Use them. What are you here to teach me? And when I first started learning this wisdom, even if a person at a store was ugly to me, like at a checkout line, I would immediately go into that knee-jerk response of, what are you teaching me about me today? How are you serving me? And I wouldn't get upset at people, because I was using every single thing that the physical was showing me. What can I learn from you? Why are you acting this way in front of me? because you're trying to serve me. So I'm paying attention. And you'd be shocked at what I would learn. And then how that would translate to me being a better person and me being happier and me stepping into my boundaries. And boundaries is a big thing for people who are codependent. And that's one of the characteristics of the book that I've got to write for my clients that are all older souls. We don't have boundaries. We don't know how to set boundaries. We don't know the wisdom of that. And once you understand the wisdom of that, you'll start doing it.
Very interesting. And I think relationships are especially interesting because we can sit and meditate, we can be by ourselves and go to all these courses, and then we get into a relationship, and then we have the greatest lessons, and it's the hardest thing to do, to practice what we've actually learned in our solitude in the relationship. And that's something I've experienced myself. Can you speak a little bit about the healing part? You say we need to heal, and you also mentioned the root cause. So let's say that we've come to a place in the relationship where we feel I'm not happy. I'm not sleeping, I'm losing weight or gaining weight or whatever. I notice this is not good. So we have that awareness. So one thing is to leave, but how do we start that healing process and really face our curriculum like you're saying we need to do?
Well, one of the things that I would say is that people are very confused about relationships, and the whole point is we think it's the white picket fence and the joy and the love and the Valentine's Day gifts and the candy and the sex and the intimacy. No, it's not. The whole point to a relationship is to grow. And an intimate relationship where you are vulnerable is the highest form of growth and the best opportunity that you have to grow. It's the number one way to grow, because you're naked in front of the other person. You're living with them, your natural ways, the facades that you put up that weren't even real to help please that other person. The Runaway Bride was all about how the man liked his eggs. So whenever that was happening, she would say, I like my eggs over easy, not even knowing how she liked her own eggs. So she's in these relationships to learn about herself, but we think the relationship is either successful or fails based on whether or not we're happy. We're going into it with the wrong expectations. If you went into it really clean, you would go, oh, you are here to push my buttons, and I'm here to push yours.
But that isn't very romantic, though.
I know, but it can be romantic and intimate if you go into it with a balanced way of thinking. There's going to be good and bad. There's going to be things you do that I hate. There's going to be things that you do that I love. We just want the good parts, but that's not why we're here. So if you go into the relationship with the thought of, I'm here to grow and you're going to be an instigator, and we are committed to that level of growth, you let him mind his business, in my case, because I'm female, or you let her mind her business, and you look at, what can I learn? How can I grow? So this morning it was interesting because I was telling this client that God would never let me leave a relationship until the whole healing was complete. Until my spiritual mind, the knowing, the intuition that something is off and you got to get out of this. And then the mind, the thoughts, the emotion, the dealing with the pain, healing. Then the physical is the last thing to catch up. So I would not be allowed to leave. I mean, I could have, but I knew that there was higher wisdom in staying. It took me 5 years to leave my first husband.
Are you speaking to yourself or your client?
Myself. And I was explaining that to my client this morning, telling her that there's a wisdom in doing this inner work before you leave, so that when you leave, you're really free. So what happens to people is the same thing that's happening with my client. The very things that she's upset over her spouse for being, now she's saying he or she is doing that to the kids. And I'm like, don't do that anymore, because you're really talking about you. Every way that you are describing him with the kids is how he treated you, and you just haven't healed. So don't make a decision based on that emotion, because you're making a decision based on your own pain. That's pretty deep, you know, to think about that concept, that when we make emotional decisions based on our pain, we're going to instigate more pain, because that's not the answer. The answer is to go into the pain and say, why do I want to leave you? Before I leave you, you can do it afterwards. You can do it then, but it's wiser to do it before you leave that process, so that you know your why. Most of us are uncomfortable and we want to run because we're in survival mode. So the 4 things that women do, or men and humanity, is the very same thing that animals do. There are 4 F's that are involved when we are uncomfortable: fight, flight, freeze, and believe it or not, the last one is a 4-letter word that some people don't like, F-U-C-K. We will, when we get in survival mode, we will either fight the person, we will run from them, we will freeze in our scenario, not knowing what to do, or we will F-U-C-K them. And that F-U-C-K them may be, I'm going to get you back, I'm going to retaliate, or it could be, I want any semblance of intimacy and I will let you go to bed with me. So you see what I'm saying? That's animalistic behavior. We're more than that. We have vocabulary, we have emotions, we have thoughts, we have the physical showing us things. So when we are in fight, flight, freeze, or fuck, basically, we're not really getting to the point, which is the curriculum. So instead of being an animal, move to, I can process this, I can think through this, I can see where this relationship has hurt me, which is my curriculum. And the question is, when do I leave? It's not just if I leave or if I stay. It's what position do I get into to set myself free before I physically leave? Or if I've already left, how do I really free myself? Because this client found herself in the exact same patterns of codependency that she was in, being his mother, that she was when she was married to him. So she's upset, she's crying, she's very emotional, because her inner guidance system is saying something is still off. Something is still off. So when we don't really deal with the whys and get to the root causes and understand that it is your curriculum, we're never really, it's like we're on the periphery of the problem and we're circling around it when it's actually right there in the center. And it's small and it's hard to find. And that's why you hire somebody, you know, like me or somebody else that does this kind of work that can actually give you that clarity.
Is this what you call higher wisdom versus normal thinking and conscious alchemy?
Conscious alchemy is a totally different subject of you manifesting whatever it is and standing in the power of that. And most people don't know that the universe is obligated to give you what you ask for.
Oh, let us speak a little bit about
Sure.
that, because that sounds interesting. They're obligated to give us whatever we ask for.
The universe is obligated.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of people are thinking now, but I ask all the time for this and that, and I don't get it.
Because you're in resistance.
Okay, let's speak
We're the
about
only
that.
thing in the way. And see, so let me see if I can explain this. The way that the universe communicates is very much like I do as an empath, an intuitive, a medium. Psychic is the beginning factor of these abilities, and then mediumship, and then there's all kinds of layers of mediumship. So let's say in my abilities, I know something and I'm thinking about it. The way that I communicate with your guides, your subconscious, what is hidden from you, what your thoughts are, the way that I communicate with that is not physical. It's telepathic. That's actually the way the universe reads energy. So the energy of when you're placing an order or looking at the ending of a relationship or a problem in a relationship is actually what you are focusing more on. What people don't know is that the percentage of the energy, once it gets over 50%, the scales are tilted. So when you think about the fact that we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, every 10 seconds, we're thinking another thought. It is striking to me sometimes when I'm talking to clients and saying, you're in resistance and you think this more often than you don't, that I can give them the exact number of how often they think a thought. The exact number. In the thousands, or what the percentage is. 88% yesterday, today, 90%. You know, I can give a client that. And then when they start going, oh my God, or they'll say no. And I get into the details and I say, oh, when you were spreading your peach preserves on your toast this morning, you said this out loud.
Do you receive this information that clearly?
Yes, details. Details. It's almost like a whole download. And I asked to see that. And I saw all this information and I was like, oh my God, which thing do I talk about? But what I've learned is to let my clients guide me as to what I say. I'm really following you guys. And I'm communicating with your spirit self. So sometimes I ask a question and the spirit self will answer me before the physical self answers me. He or she is going to say this, but this is really what they think. So then I've found creative ways of get them to understanding that what they think they want isn't really what they want, and what they really want to know. I'm like, you're asking me 3 questions, but you don't want to know any of these 3 questions. Can I tell you what your question is? And when I tell them, they start crying, or they're like, oh my God, that is what I want to know. Very often we're off subject. We want to try to figure it out by ourselves as if we are alone. But you are a spiritual being. And spirit is unlimited in what it knows. So you have your answers, but you don't know you have your answers. So somebody like me or somebody who does this kind of work can actually help you by clarifying what that is, and then helping you to know now you get to choose since you know the truth. So most often what we think is the subject or what we are doing is not what we're doing, because the universe is reading the energy of it, and to every single thought, let me break it down to words. One word has a color, a symbol, a sound, an energy, and a vibration. Every single thought, every single word. So when the universe is reading what you are ordering as a conscious alchemist, and you're saying, and I'm just going to give you an example of this. Let's say, I want a good relationship. Okay, well, first of all, that is not definable and it's way too generic. And the universe goes, well, there's 1,000 ways I can give you good. But since you're not ordering it, you think you're ordering it, but you're not, because you're not clear. You don't know. And that's the thing that I'm going to do when I teach alchemy, is getting the clarity of why you want it, what you want, and what specifically it is that you want. Most people don't know what they want. So they say it generically, like, I want a good relationship. And the universe is going, I really want to give you that. But since I have more than 50,000 ways of giving you a good relationship, and you're not defining it, you're not going to get that order, because the energy is saying, I'm upset that I don't have a good relationship.
Right.
So the universe reads that and goes, I have to give you more of that, because that is more of the dominant energy.
So you say that we shouldn't be too generic. how about if we are too specific, we actually lose out on possibilities that spirit actually want to give us because we are so specific with what we want. I'm going to live in that city. I'm going to have exactly that job, and I'm going to have that dream partner who looks like this, and he should be into this and into that. And then we start to control the process and we lose out on something that could be magnificent.
Yes. And that's a really good point, is that when you're not clear and the message is not clean and in alignment with you. To give you an example, I'm petite, I'm 5'4". Am I ever going to be a football player? No. So for me to tell the universe, I want to be a famous football player, that's not in alignment. But I can say that and expect the universe to deliver it, but it doesn't make sense. So it's almost that process of knowing self, knowing who you are, knowing what your values are, knowing why you want what you want, and then placing the order for that. I will tell you 4 things that will get you in resistance immediately. When you are dictating or worried about the when, with whom, and how, you're in resistance. I'm sorry, I know the internet keeps going in and out.
Yeah.
When you're worried about the when, the with whom, the how, and you're trying to control, you are not in freedom, and you will not get it. It's about limited energy. I have the capacity to read whether or not somebody is saying something in unlimited energy or in limited energy. We haven't yet learned to do that for ourselves. I would love to teach people how to do that so that you can read, does that even feel good when I say it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's about being true to ourselves. Like, we cannot lie to the universe. We cannot manipulate anything. We need to be true to our soul. That's when we'll manifest.
So for somebody that came to me and said, I want to live in the city, I would do some work with them around asking questions to get them to identify why that city. And they're shocked when I do that kind of deep level work, and they realize it's not really about that city, it's about something else. Because most of the time we are focused, laser focused on the thing that is missing instead of what the truth is about ourselves. So in alchemy work, in conscious alchemy work, where you're really creating because you know what you want and you order it and it comes, which is what I do. I still have resistance from time to time, and I still have to do that inner work for myself. But as a rule, once I decide and I have a clean motive, I'm clean about it, which is something I was telling you about before we got on this YouTube. Then it happens, and I get the signs immediately that it's coming. What the problem is that we're fighting what we want, and we don't know we're fighting it. And resistance energy will keep the universe at bay, going, oh, I'm excited. She just ordered this. She wants this. We get to do this for her. I'm going to bring this to her. I've got all these things working. I've even seen my guides with charts and writing things down and saying, go get this done for her. Go do this, and then there's 50 things that are going to happen because of that. And then I've actually seen where I had another thought and countered it, and they're like, put your pads down. We can't do it. She's changed her mind. She's thinking about this.
Really? Have you seen that?
I've seen it. And I've done like you. I laughed and went, oh, this is important. But the kicker is to get into gratitude, because and then when you move into gratitude, I literally have said to the universe, okay, listen up. Here's my order. I'm clear about it. This is what I want. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see what you do. If you need my help, let me know. Otherwise, thank you. When you can move to gratitude, you can't move to gratitude until you know, until it's clean energy, until there's no resistance in you. You've got the answer. You know what it is you want. And when you place that order, the universe goes, she has just, or he has just cleared the way. I get to give them that and 5 times what they ordered.
No wonder that manifestation is a bit tricky, I gotta say, because this demands a lot of work, a lot of inner work. I mean, you just said we have 60 to 7,000 thoughts, and a lot of them are negative, and the same as we had yesterday, and they just fall down into our heads, right? Feels like that. And then we can become aware and notice them, but it happens very automatically. So this is to come to that level where we are conscious alchemists. That's a leap.
It's a leap, and it requires a lot of inner work and really sitting down with yourself and saying, is that truthful? Like me wanting to be a football player. Is that honest? Is that truthful? Is that, do it even make sense? No. So a lot of times, like I'll do alchemy classes or something, and it's really interesting to hear people when they say, I want $100,000. Actually, I want $1 million. And I'm like, you are never going to get that because you've got resistance even around getting 100,000. Have you got 100,000 yet? And they're like, no. I said, see, you're setting yourself up to fail when there's a segue and a journey to this, to getting this kind of clarity. But the good news is that once you really get that clarity, once you know yourself, once you know, is this clean energy or not? Or am I more about the limit? Am I more about, I need to fix this, I'm judging it, I need this fixed? Then the universe, fortunately or unfortunately, this is how it works, is reading the energy, measuring it telepathically, and goes, well, regardless of what she thinks she's saying or he thinks he's saying, what is really the dominant energy is this, and I'm obligated to fulfill that.
Wow. It's such an interesting choice of word, obligated. And I understand that you really mean that.
Oh, I mean it.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it that way. It makes a lot of sense though, Tammy, with being truthful. And I think this is what a lot of the reasons why we're here is, to come back to who we really are. That is not the false self and not controlling and manipulation and fear. We spoke a lot about this in the Q&A, going from fear to love and what is good for me, doing more of that, because then we are rewiring our brains, because it is sort of challenging to change the direction of a train that's going one way. We need to do some work to make the train go another way if we're not used to, having, for instance, okay, if you want to experience a beautiful relationship and you've never experienced that before, you've always had lousy relationships, and maybe your parents had a lousy relationship and that's where you got it from. You need sort of to use your imagination and be truthful to yourself. What do I really need? What do I really want? And then also to imagine that is possible. And I think that is possible. I think it's just we need to practice that, and we need to sort of make a decision about it. And the more we focus on that, the more that will grow eventually. Because sometimes we don't always have the evidence or the model for something we want and deeply desire. And I guess that's part of our curriculum.
Well, we're in denial that what we want actually wants us, no matter what we've seen, no matter what our curriculum is. The problem is that we don't know ourselves well enough to know, I want this and this is my why. When you get the why, you're clear. And very often in sessions, especially in mentoring, where I'm working on practical everyday things that are going on in somebody's life to reveal the patterns and to teach them spiritual concepts so that they can choose, very often I'll say, what is your why? And they don't know. So joining and getting in alignment with the why, having that clarity. Is the why because you didn't have it? No, the why is because you came in to experience that. You see, we go from disempowered. I've never seen it before. I've never had it before. So I want to have something that I know my parents didn't have and I didn't have, and I've never had it before. And you see, I'm spending all this time on the limited. That's not the true why. The true why is because you came in with a contract to experience that. And if you can't get to that solid knowing, where I'm standing in the power of knowing I'm supposed to have this, and if it's in my heart, I contracted to have this, and the universe wants me to have it, my answer is yes, I want it. You get in alignment with that, it's like the resistance breaks.
Interesting. There's a lot, I feel like there's a lot of deep layers here, and we could speak for hours about this. And I know this is something you teach, conscious alchemy. I do think it's a bit complicated though, even though it is simple, and at the same time it's a bit complicated. Because we choose these curriculums to have a difficult relationship and all that. So you say it's about, being honest about that, meeting that curriculum, healing, and then to be able to take that next step towards what we deeply desire, to be open to, okay, so I want this, and it's given to me already because the universe wants to give this to me.
Yes. Well, there's a surrender part that you missed in there, and that is understanding where you are and stop fighting where you are. Most of us spend our time fighting where we are because we don't like it. You're never going to get anywhere. That's the hamster wheel. You're just reciprocating the problem over and over and over again. If you can shift from acknowledging, and I have a 5-step method that I haven't found anything that works as well as this, but there's not just one way. There's different teachings. Some people teach visualization. I teach doing the inner work so that you know how to do this with everything for the rest of your life. Because you can visualize something all day long, but if your subconscious doesn't believe you can have it, you're not going to have it. So it's deeper than creative visualization, as some people teach. It's actually acknowledging what's happening in my life right now. Where am I right now? And instead of fighting that, instead of being upset over it, saying, okay, this is where I am. And then the next step is acknowledging whether I like it or not, whether I believe that I created this or not, it is me. And how is that affecting me? This is deep work that I'm talking about, Shaneki. It's very deep to go into these levels. It is. It becomes easier the more you do it. So then the owning it is saying, whether I like this or not, spiritual law, universal laws teach me that I am an alchemist and I created this. Then you go to the forgiveness stage where you forgive yourself and you forgive other people. And I have a lot of techniques that I use with clients and they're all different. They're all different. It's according to the personality and what the client has going on, that I will pull different techniques out that work just for them. That's very custom made and tailored for them. And then once you forgive, you get to choose. So there's a surrender to, in the part of acknowledging, this is my life. I don't like this relationship that I'm in. Admitting that is the beginning to your healing. When we're denying it, no, it'll get better. It'll get better. Tomorrow will be better. I think I might can teach him or her this. I think I might can show them what they're doing. I think we might could make this work. No, 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 no. What's the truth? Where are you right now? And are you happy right now? If you're not, then something's out of alignment. If you can just surrender to that, then you can start asking source, your higher self, God, universe, however you want to frame it. How do I do this? Give me to the next level. I understand that this is going to be a process for me, and I want freedom. And I want that thing that I haven't been able to have. And I'm the reason I don't have it. I don't know what that is in me, but reveal it. Do you see how honest and childlike and innocent and submissive that is?
Beautiful.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you for taking us through that. Oh,
Yes,
beautiful. Yeah.
you're
Thank you
welcome.
so much, Tammy. I could speak with you for hours. Thank you so much for an enlightening hour with you, and all the best with your work. Can you tell us a little bit about how people can work with you and reach you?
Yeah, and right now, I don't know how long I'm going to have this up, but I have a pop-up on my website that if anybody goes to my website, their free gift is writing me and asking me one question they want intuitive advice or counsel on. I am doing that as something new I'm trying. If you don't find that pop up and it doesn't say that, then you're past me offering that. But right now, that is what I'm doing. I'm finding that people need to connect with me personally. And so when they ask me a question and I answer them back, there's a you feel like you're part of a family, and
Nice.
that's what my email list is. So go to TammyDeMirza.com, and I've got these new books coming out that are really directed at women and knowing how to have healthy relationships with self. Therefore, it translates to everybody else. We want them to stop and fix so that we'll feel better. It's an inside job. It's never about them. And then I offer different programs. One is a 1 hour session with me where you get a lot of clarity. I explain things in your life. I may go into a pattern. I may go into details. I may do an overview of your life. And I may even tell you what I know you called me for. Or there may be an energetic thing that I do and I'm scanning your body and I tell you what's going on with this or that. Then there's mentoring with me, which is 6 weeks, 1 hour a week for 6 weeks. I'm about to do a membership thing where there's different levels of the membership where you can get access to me as in a group setting or in a group and private or just private. So I'm going to offer that coming up pretty soon here. I'm really excited about that because I know that the continual being in the energy of that, you were talking about this, that when you interview people like me, you're elevated and the energy
Oh,
is
yeah.
high. And then when you go back into your normal life, it's hard to maintain that. So the consistency of being in a membership or doing mentoring or even doing my transformation program, where I'm with you for days. I'm with you for days and we're using everything. We're using going out to eat as allowing the universe to bring people and things. Sometimes I'll go, I don't know why, but we have to go here. And then the server says something or somebody walks up, a total stranger walks up to us and says something that I've just been telling the client. And I'm like, oh my God, I love, that's my favorite, is the days with the clients where the universe and I both are working in tandem and you see things in the physical. And I have clients who take me on trips just to do those things. I was in Morocco for 2 weeks with a client and I would bring up a subject at breakfast and within 30 minutes to an hour, bam, that's right in front of her. And she's looking at me and going, are you kidding? I'm like, I love this. We're heard, we're connected, I love doing that
Wow.
kind of work, but I love the other stuff that I do too. And then writing these books to give you something tangible you can use in your home.
Yeah. And we're so honored to also have your 2 masterclasses in our membership as well that
Thank
our
you.
members really love. So if you want
Good.
to check that out, you find the link below, both to the membership and to Tammy's website. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And thank you for being with us today, Tammy.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Much light from the US and Norway. Bye-bye, everybody.